Hi empaths, welcome to Heart Space Wellness Alliance. Here's my healing room. Let's get started. Hi empaths, welcome back to my healing space. We're going to get into another reading. I'm going to use some Tibetan tinctures to clear the energy of the space, our auras, the cards, to invoke angels, guides, compassionate ancestors, ascended masters, any beings of the light who want to inform this reading for the most accurate, concise, resonant, helpful message that the listener needs to hear at this time. Good. Let's pull an angel card from the original angel cards to see what's priority to focus on this time. Clarity. Clarity, getting clear. Getting clear here. What are we getting clear on? Let's go to the Ascended Masters Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. What do we need clarity about right now? Something's not quite clear. Are we making a decision? Do we have several options? Do we have a lot of talents and we don't know what to focus on? What's our life path, life purpose? And instead of seeing that as abundance, is it hindering us, creating stagnation? Okay. So, drink more water. It's coming up with persistence. So, there's something about caring for self on the physical level. Maybe there is something you should be doing for optimizing physical health and well-being, and there's something that is preventing you from doing so. Maybe a resistance, maybe a dissociation from the body, the physical expression of self. Escaping, right? Maybe there's this need to cope, a feeling of loneliness, and we need to cope, so we escape in some way, right? We get caught up in our coping mechanism, and it's never satiating, right? Coping mechanisms never are. And we're not acknowledging, oh, I'm thirsty right now. Oh, I need to eat right now. And it's creating this disorder, right? This charge around it because our body's kind of in a panic. which might be the idea of persistence here, that there's a persistent feeling, a charged feeling around our needs, our physical needs, because they've gone ignored. They don't feel like they're being heard. It might also be spiritual needs, emotional needs go unmet, and they get louder at the physical, right? So if I have a hunger spiritually for knowledge, and I decide instead to watch television to numb, I might find I have uncontrollable hunger and I binge eat, right? Might also find I have this emotional need for connection and meaningful relationships in my life, and I'm not finding them, or I'm not cultivating them, or I'd rather isolate. So instead, I just indulge in my vices, right? I could reach out to somebody, but maybe I'll just have a drink, right? I do feel a little lonely. I could invite someone over for a chat or call someone up, but you know what? It's just easier to order food. Or whatever the vice is, right? Maybe it's something even more extreme. And that might be what's creating this persistence, because those things that are replacing the general or the spiritual or the emotional needs, they're not going to ever gratify them, right? So then they have a stronger hold, because you're chasing something with the wrong means, right? It's never going to deliver what you're seeking. It gives a lower quality of it, and even attention-seeking behavior, right? We're seeking love and sense of belonging, and yet it never quite fulfills that. This can also be about getting near the ocean, right? Because we drink more water, and we're seeing the Ascended Master ocean. This can be about getting near moving water. See, there's even a waterfall here, a little waterfall in the background of the image. Being near moving water helps sensitives, empaths, intuitives clear the energy field, allow emotions to flow, right, instead of holding on to them, allows things to cycle, teaching us ebb and flow, a release, expression, right? So also being persistent with caring for those needs is going to be important. It's not a one-timer, right? One healing session, you're good. No, it's something you maintain, right? Focus on your strengths. So focus on your strengths in order to find freedom, right? So the clarity here might be, maybe there's a lack of purpose. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know who I'm meant to be around. And the key to your freedom, sense of freedom and actual freedom, begins with you getting in touch with what your strengths are, right? I've talked about this before, the Strengths Finder test. I think it's Clifton. I'll link it below. Cliff's Strengths Finder test, something like that. It's a book it lists and explains and describes all these strengths, and then you take this quiz. It also comes with the quiz included. You can also take it separately, but I think it's more expensive to just pay for the quiz online. The book has a one-time link for you to take the test. And it's like a personality test, but it reveals to you your top 5 strengths. I think it also lists the others, but what's most important are your top 5 strengths. And knowing what your strengths are can help you get in touch with, point you in the right direction of maybe what your potential is and then your purpose, right? Really knowing what your potential is important, because oftentimes our weaknesses shout louder to us, right? They scream at us like, you're not good enough at this. You don't do this right. Or, oh, you messed up on this again. And we focus so much of our attention there that we're not in touch with what we're really great at. And that's the first step. Can you build on your strengths? Do you already know what your strengths are, right? Do you already know what you're good at? Have people given you clues? Do people say, oh, when you speak, people listen. I noticed that, right? Or, wow, you're a really good listener. I feel really safe. You create a really safe space for me. Or, I didn't see that connection. Wow, great observation, right? Do people note these things? And we just are like, all right, thanks. I don't know what to do with that, so I throw it away. Can we collect these things and use this feedback, right? Because it's useful. It's useful feedback. I'm not saying let it define you and become needy for all of for acknowledgement, but I am saying like others' feedback is important because that's who you're working with, right? When we're talking about life purpose, it's often how are we impacting others around us or the environment we're in or consciousness in general, right? How are we having an impact? What's our contribution, right? And that meets us at another level. That meets us on a soul level. You know, if we're not growing and in touch with how we're contributing to the world, we're not meeting our soul's needs. Those are the needs of the soul here. So getting clear on that will free you from only meeting the needs of your personality, right? Which creates a loop and it's a cycle and it's never quite fulfilling. We find fulfillment in meeting the needs of the soul, right? All needs need fulfillment, right? So I'm referring to the 6 basic human needs based on human needs psychology, right? Certainty, uncertainty, significance, connection and love. And then we're talking about purpose, right? Contribution, which is sometimes identified as purpose. What are we contributing to the world? And growth. How am I growing? You know, how am I developing here? Am I gaining self-awareness? Am I healing? Am I on a path as far as healing, right? Positive change and listen. Listen. Maybe you are someone who's able to gather information, right, based in conversation with others and have useful insight that creates positive change for others. And maybe seeking one of the many coaching modalities would be a great step for you, or maybe you're already a coach, right? A healer that creates a safe space for someone to unload, unburden in your as you witness, right? Even just a trusted mentor, a trusted friend. That can give you a huge sense of contribution, right? Like I'm providing something here. And significance, right? And connection and love. Maybe you're able to help people see their experiences and the purpose and the lessons they're in with more clarity, and that helps them change, right? Maybe it prevents them from going through another cycle. It's like, do you see the theme here? How can we shift this? Maybe not stay in the same loop. Of course, healing always takes that spiral, right? We always see it from a higher perspective. We come back around the mountain and see the same issue from a higher perspective, but maybe you help people ascend more quickly, or put problems into perspective as this is training ground for you, right? And they can see purpose in these challenges that they're experiencing. There's something about you having a strength that helps others gain more clarity, and that gives you a stronger sense of purpose. Could very well be energy healing, right? Working with energy, the energy of joy, maybe, the power of joy, helping people have more joyful experiences, express their joy, maybe in some kind of movement therapy, somatic healing, dancing as medicine, yoga, Pilates, even seeing a funny aspect, right? Seeing humor in a situation helps alchemize it for somebody, helps transmute the pain for somebody. Do you have a gift of relaying someone's story back to them in a humorous way that makes them see funny aspects and helps them laugh away the pain? That's instantaneous healing, right? That's spontaneous healing. So whatever that's coming to mind, yes, this is part of your purpose. Yes, there is a reason this is a strength for you. Yes, look into this further and grow in this area. Yes, this is an answer to something you've been questioning, right? You're your own guru. You have the information, right? You come to a reading for more certainty and insight, certainly, but know that the power is within you. You have the vision, right? You're just maybe looking for a perspective shift or confirmation. Yeah, let's see what aspect of yourself wants to come forward and say, here's a little more clarity, or I could use some clarity here. What aspect of yourself? What aspect of yourself wants to come forward with a message of clarity, the power of joy, healing, seeing the energy dynamics in things, bringing humor to situations, transmuting people's pain? What are your strengths? What's a strong aspect that wants to come forward, or maybe an aspect that would give you more strength if you tuned into it more? Queen. Queen, the light attributes, radiates the regal feminine, uses her benevolent authority to protect others. Shadow attributes, becomes arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. So maybe this is an aspect of yourself that you're intimidated by or afraid of. You're afraid of expressing it. You don't want to intimidate others. You're tiptoeing around. I don't want to speak with authority. I don't want to come across as arrogant. I say right a lot. I have that tendency sometimes. As we get other, you agree, right? You agree with me. Or maybe we're just trying to engage people. Either way. Maybe you carry yourself in a certain way, and when you're feeling good about yourself and notice that others are more likely to listen to you, right? Maybe when you're in a positive state, people are more likely to listen because you're carrying yourself more like the queen. You're accessing more of the light attributes of the queen. And maybe when you're feeling, you're not focusing on your strengths, right? And you're feeling used up, or maybe you need to drink more water or clear your energy, right? You're in that sort of state where I need some joy, I need some energy. You may come across as arrogant. You might try to control situations or people and be really demanding about your needs getting met. Which one are you finding is more effective, right? Probably when you're in the light attributes, right? Because in one instance, you're commanding with your energy field. You're just in that state. And in the other, you're demanding, and that's a weaker position. So if we focus on the strengths, we're much more influential and effective. Sometimes saying nothing at all is more powerful instead of retaliating, right? So what's the more powerful position here? I'm going to pull, I've never used this deck. It's called the Gilded Tarot by Ciro Marchetti. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ciro Marchetti? I don't know. I've never used this deck, so we'll see. We'll see what comes up about clarity, getting in touch with joy. She came out pretty fast. Focusing on strengths. Just a couple more cards. Couple more cards to tell us a little bit more about taking good care of ourselves, getting in touch with a sense of clarity, healing, focusing on our strengths, and maybe helping others get in touch with their inner strength and experiencing more freedom and fulfillment. Two more cards. So the first card that comes out is no surprise, the Queen of Wands. She loves to come out no matter what deck I'm using. Queen of Wands, I feel represents me in a way. I am a Sagittarius. This is a fire sign queen. Interesting, right? That the queen archetype came out. Queen of Wands is royal, right? Sense of royalty, empowered, illuminator, right? Fire is about illumination as well. So illuminating something brings clarity to it, right? Clarity of vision. If we shine a light on something, it's about passion and creativity. So maybe part of the coping mechanism that we were talking about earlier in the reading has to do with avoiding this, right? You know, the coping with our vice, right? Maybe drinking, maybe alcohol, maybe overindulging in food or in any other area, because we're avoiding this calling, this creative project that keeps coming around, and we keep saying, I will, I will, I will. And, but it persists, right? It persists, and it's because it gnaws at us. We quiet it down by using one of our trusted coping strategies that always numbs us out. But then we don't get in touch with joy, right? We miss out on the other really fulfilling states and emotions when we numb out. So Queen of Wands is showing up with passion, inspiration, enlightenment, sensuality. She's very sexy queen. So very attractive. This sexy part of you, this passionate, creative, sensual part, who's very in touch with her inner strength, right? And her sense of royalty, really. And empowerment. She's empowered. We have the Star. The Star is about vision. The Star is about an ideal. This is Aquarius, right? This is Aquarian energy. Pouring out of 2 carafes here. Interesting that drink more water, right, comes out, and she's pouring out of 2 carafes, right? This might be about getting closer to the water element in nature. Perhaps we're too in our fire at times. Medicine for fire is water, right? Particularly in relationship, in partnership. If we're really harsh and all about boundaries, and not known for our tact, Sagittarius. That's a Sagittarius thing. Not known for mincing words, right? Pretty direct. And not attached. Like, bye. Okay, next. Medicine for that, and also lower on the empathy scale, right? We can get into those states, right? We can get into that state depending on the relationship dynamic, friendship, partnership, whatever it is, acquaintance, stranger. Depending on that dynamic, the energy dynamic, right? Understanding energy. We might need to temper that with some of the water element, which I believe she's demonstrating here in the Star, is tempering that, balancing it, right? She's pouring it slowly. We're just tempering it. Allowing for bonding to take place, right? Instead of just next or being harsh, right? This can also be about finding emotional fulfillment in creative projects. Instead of tuning them out and going to our vice for coping. Finding emotional fulfillment in those creative projects. And perhaps those creative projects will require cooperation, connection with other people. That can really take care of many needs at once, right? And notice her third eye, she has like a band on, and the third eye is illuminated there. It's connected to this ball. Is that called an obelisk or something? I might be getting that wrong. Connected to this, which I believe is representing higher consciousness, or it's typically it's the star card, so it's typically a star. There is a star within that ball, so it might be about psychic vision, clarity of this creative vision, right? Getting in touch with this creative, passionate part of yourself instead of numbing it down, because it's persisting, and you know, you're going to need to do more and more and more to shut her up. How about we just listen? Just listen. Just commit to listening for now. Listen. What's the next first step, right? And we have 8 of Wands, which is passionate communication, right? Passionate movement towards the future. Very similar. It looks very similar to this focus on the strengths card. Like the energy looks very similar. Bringing this strength into the world. Is it creative? That Queen of Wands is a creative queen. And then the last card is the Queen of Swords. Cutting through illusion, right? Getting to the truth. This queen doesn't put up with mistreatment, not even from herself. She's very clear, right? She has discipline. She has standards. She's very detached. Unlike this passionate Queen of Wands is detached for a different reason. She's detached in a relationship because the fire just burns up all the attachment, right? The fire is like, burning up in your in impassioned energy, so that which burns up all the water element, and water is what's connected to empathy, right? And understanding somebody else and bonding. So if there's too much fire, it's a lot of independence. It can also be like that sexual energy without the connection, right? The love and connection part. And that's what the star here is sort of tempering. The temperance card almost came out, but it didn't really fly out, so I put it back. But I believe that's what the star here is indicating. And then the Queen of Swords is just very clear, right? Clear, we're talking about clarity here. Clear vision. Clear boundaries, clear standards for her own behavior and what she accepts around her, right? 2 queens. Interesting, right? 2 queens. And I'm saying her and she, but this can be any gender, right? Any gender here. Um, the feminine essence, though. The feminine essence. So these are two aspects of you, right? This can be a dynamic with a fire sign and an air sign, right? Maybe particularly Aquarius, since the star card came out. So it might be a fire sign who maybe doesn't have a lot of either the water element or the air element in her chart, his or her, they chart. If you go to astro.com, you can put in your birth information. You'll need to know your birth time, but you can see the balance of elements, right? In my chart, I have mostly water and earth. Fire comes next. Like it's the same amount of fire, or it's the same amount of water and earth, and then fire comes next, and it's pretty high up there too. No air, no air element in my chart. So I tend to attract air element people that are air dominant or have a lot of air aspects in their charts to help balance that for me. It's very interesting, the synergy, right? The synergy of the elements and energy dynamics that happen. So this could be about a particular relationship that balances that, right? Because it can also be like the Queen of Wands has so much fire that this Aquarius or person with a lot of water in their chart, maybe. I know Aquarius is air, but because this person is wielding water, balances and some of the fire is released, right? Some of the fire is balanced, tempered, and then maybe there's someone outside of you, or this is an aspect of yourself that also helps temper that by creating some detachment from the passion, or doesn't put up with it, or encourages when you're using it positively, right? When you have a positive channel for it. So this could be a friend or mentor or guide who's come into your life, or who is a part of your life, who helps you see your strengths. I have a friend like that who is an Aquarius, who's always like, we have long conversations about things, and she helps me see that I have a lot of clarity around situations and that I cut through and I can see the connection. She's always like, oh, you're so good. Or I say something, I see the humor in it. Sagittarians are known for that too. And we laugh at something or bring up something in a funny way and we both laugh, and it just brings so much healing energy to something. So do you have somebody in your life who kind of balances you in regards to the elements, or helps you see your strengths, right? A kindred soul, a friend who maybe is good with boundaries, who's teaching you about boundaries, right? I have another friend who was always strong with me about when I got cut off. I had a friend who was always strong with me about when I was in the shadow aspects of the Queen, right? I lived in the shadow of it. Arrogant when authority is challenged, controlling and demanding. I had tendencies from my ancestry that I was healing, and he didn't put up with it. He wouldn't put up with it. He called it out as much as he could, and I consider him my best friend. Like, he was just had such strong boundaries, and it's something I appreciated. I appreciated the honesty. Honesty is something I value as a Sagittarius. So it was this great synergy in relationship because he provided something I really valued, because I was committed to growth. So I needed feedback from someone I trusted and respected and cared about what they thought, right? Sometimes feedback is like, okay, well, but why should I? It's coming from a source that I don't really trust their agenda, maybe. But with him, I just knew it was because he wanted to sustain the relationship. So even though it was harsh sometimes, and I would get angry at first, I was able to detach from the feedback eventually, temper that fire with some water, and realize that the bonds of the relationship were stronger and more important than my pride and ego. So yeah, and we're both committed to growing. So sharing those values are important. So maybe this is something you're seeking, is this connection with a trusted friend. Know that having one or two valued friends is wealth. So many people are seeking as many connections as they possibly can, and they're never satisfied, right? That's that attention-seeking behavior. And living your life to please all these different people, it just pulls you out of yourself. So coming back into integrity and alignment with who you are, and seeing your strengths and what you have to offer, and knowing that when you're really being yourself, it will be polarizing. There are some people that will punish you for being who you are. They won't like it. It'll be intimidating. That's why we play small sometimes, right? Instead of accessing the queen, we play small sometimes because we're afraid of the repercussions of being in our power. Because a lot of people will try to, and it's not about not being humble, right? Being humble is important too, but it's about empowerment. And sometimes we're afraid to fully express that power because we don't want to intimidate others, because we know that people that are disempowered won't like that and will often try to tear you down, which is why we don't surround ourselves with just anybody, right? This is why we practice discernment, and we have clarity about what we actually value. And when we get in touch with that, freedom. I don't have to please anybody. I have people I trust that give me feedback. Pink Lemurian quartz is coming up. This is from the Healing Crystals Information Oracle cards. Connection, okay? So we're talking about evolution, wisdom, okay? I am connected to a divine source of information, right? A divine source. Yeah, connection. That's what we're talking about here, right? The Lemurian quartz has like the lines, and it's believed if you rub those lines or you hold those crystals, you get in touch with the encoded information therein when you meditate with them. So that's where the wisdom's coming in. And if you're growing in wisdom, right? As you evolve, you learn from your experiences. And you can do so in connection with these trusted friends and mentors. Let's get an essential oil from the Essential Oil Oracle cards by Lisa Powers, and see. Okay, amazing. So black pepper, 2 came out. Black pepper, the keyword is integrate. I am trapped is the trigger statement. I am whole is the true statement. Allow the parts of yourself you hide to make themselves known. In the light, you will see the wisdom they hold. Okay? Black pepper is the oil of unmasking. We've seen it before. Revealing your authentic self, right? It might very well be the queen archetype. And not being afraid of doing so. Birch is also coming out. Foundation is the key word. I am rejected is the trigger statement. The true statement is I am accepted. right? You have the strength to stand firm in your decision, right? At the beginning of this reading, I said, do you need clarity about a decision you're making? You have the strength. You have the strength to stand firm in your decision, honor your feelings, and pursue the path you are feeling called to. Yeah. This creative path, right? The answer is yes. Those strengths that you came in touch with during the reading, right? Birch is the oil of support. Birch offers support to the unsupported. Are you feeling disconnected and unsupported currently? When a person is feeling attacked or unsupported in life, this oil offers courage to move forward alone. It helps individuals ground within their own center to find their source of inner support and strength. Learning to be flexible is important, but so is gaining a strong backbone, right? Queen of Wands. Birch offers support to the weak-willed to stand tall and firm in what they believe, especially in situations where one is at risk of being rejected if they choose a different way. Birch lends its spirit of endurance to help individuals face trials of adversity so they may weather storms with the strength and conviction of a tree. So if you're feeling unsupported, alienated, fearful, weak-willed, overly flexible, or you're rejecting help, maybe birch is the oil for you. Inhale that one, possibly. Put in your diffuser. Positive properties are supported, firm, resolute, strengthened, grounded, connected, receiving. I feel like that is confirmation in and of itself, but we're going to end the reading with a Life Loves You card by Louise Hay and Robert Holden. Life loves you. One last card to end this reading. I hope that this made sense, that there was something of value for you here. If this is resonating, let me know what your strengths are in the comments. What did you feel your strengths are? Do you have someone you trust that you feel connected to, or is that an aspect of yourself that you're tuning into, right? Do you connect with the crystals or essential oils in a special way? And are there connections that maybe I missed and you noted? Let me know. Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear. One last card. I am willing to let love in. I am willing to let love in. Open your arms wide and say, I am willing to let love in. It is safe to let love in. Repeat 3 times. All right. I am willing to let love in. It is safe to let love in. I am willing to let love in. It is safe to let love in. I am willing to let love in. It is safe to let love in. Did you resonate with this at all? Was there value in here for you? If it wasn't for you, maybe it's for someone you know. Share with anyone who it might help, this message that came through. I wish you many, many blessings on this journey to fulfillment. I'll see you in the next reading, Empath.